think we are probably good to start, and we are recording. So we wanted to start off with something a little fun. As people are entering, so we know we're going to have just kind of a wave of folks getting on. So we have a little poll for you, and then we'll introduce ourselves. So it's really hot here in Vermont, where Arabe and Galen and I are today. We've had a stretch of 90-degree weather. And so we're wondering, on a summer day like today, would you rather chill out with a good book in the hammock or do something active? It's like we're getting a nice split here. We'll keep the poll going just for one more moment. All right, we'll take the last 10 seconds for our poll here. What would you prefer to do on a really hot day like we're having here in hot Vermont with no AC? Would you rather chill out with a good book in a hammock or do something active? Nice, good split there, it looks like. All right, so Arabe, I'm going to present this and then I'm going to turn it over to you to start intros.
Awesome, very cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Arabe Lopez. I am a rising senior at Lamoille Union High School in Hyde Park, Vermont, which is a little bit weird to say now, kind of crazy. I'm also a part of Up for Learning's Youth Advisory Council, which partners with Up for Learning on a deep leadership level within the organization. The question, a little introduction question that you asked is, why is youth adult partnership, so important to me, so prevalent in my life? I just start by saying that youth adult partnership for me has been the key to my engagement in my, journey through high school. And I've been, super happy to, find joy and engagement in my learning with the help of some awesome mentors.
My name's Galen Reese. I'm also on Up for Learning's Youth Advisory Council, as well as their board of directors. I joined, well, I say Up is kind of, the gateway on my end to, youth adult partnership. I joined because I saw there's like a lack of engagement on both sides, on the youth side and the adult side. And I kind of thought, bridging that gap would be the best way to get everybody involved and engaged on an equal level. And I wanted to make some real tangible change to get to that place.
Thank you, Galen. And my name is Lindsay Hallman. I am the executive director for Up for Learning. We're here in Vermont. We work with schools across our state. We also, as Dana Mitra shared earlier, we hosted this international summit for 3 years here in beautiful Vermont. And I'm very grateful to be able to work with Arabe and Galen as partners. And so we're gonna just kind of dive in today to why youth adult partnership is so important to us, and allow you to really think and reflect on where you are in this journey of youth adult partnership. So we'd also just asked in the chat, as a way to introduce who you are, if you could share your name, where you're Zooming from. I already saw Australia, and what brought you to this session, just so that can maybe help guide us as we move forward with our short micro session. As we move forward today, we're hoping that Jaden and Zoe had shared a set of norms or ethos, a way of being in the opening session. And we're hoping that we can have similar norms as we go through our session, because we'll be in a main session for a little bit, and then we'll do some breakouts. So review your screen name, change it to what you prefer to be called.
Make sure you mute yourself if you're not talking, like limit the background noise, the ambient noise.
We also ask you to please be fully present, but feel free to turn your video off as well.
Use the chat for asking questions and adding ideas or comments. Like right now, people are sharing where they're from, and just to get a sense of who's here to make this feel more like a tighter community in our short time together.
Make sure to listen for understanding with while withholding judgment. So, try to form those connections, see where people are coming from.
Try to support each other's learning. That's hard as we join us from a virtual space.
Yeah, and we will be, like I said, we'll be sharing with each other in our larger group and in breakout. So please, speak your truth equitably. I think Zoe and Jaden did a really nice job of talking about that, making space for all voices and knowing that it's only part of the truth.
Make sure it's safe to encourage risk-taking, both on your end and for everybody else. It's really weird being on a virtual platform. It doesn't feel as human, as intimate as it would be if we were in a room talking to each other. But make sure we all find a way to make it as human as we can, make it as open as we can.
Great.
And also, just last off, feel free to take care of your own needs at any time during the session. That means you can get up at any time.
So we have folks doing their intros in the chat here. We've got folks from all over. Just take a moment just to see who's here and why they're here. We've got Iowa, we've got Australia, Washington, D.C., running a business focused on training adults in youth adult partnership. Awesome. Claire, Minneapolis, welcome. Interested in youth adult partnership through your role as a youth development researcher. Awesome. Coordinate a youth council, Nicole from Connecticut. Excellent. Anna, hi. Anna's one of our youth advisory council members from Vermont. We're so glad you're here. We got tons of folks coming in. Great. So many different reasons for being here, and we hope that we can provide you with a really good framework for thinking about youth adult partnership. The earlier presentations were an excellent way to launch us into this piece, because we looked at two different examples of the ladder, and really at our work at Up for Learning is about partnership, which the fruits of that is activism, youth leader activism and leadership. So we really see those as interchangeable parts. So Galen, I'm passing it to you.
Yeah. So here you guys can see this really great visual that we use, this great metaphor. It is actually really similar to the ladder that was introduced in the whole group session. But we see it differently, kind of as a tree that's growing from a seed to a full-fledged mature tree. So as these partnerships are formed, as they mature, we can kind of see them blossoming as you would a tree. You see it growing, maturing. You see fruits being, what's the word? Built? No. But you know what I mean. You can see fruits coming from the work that's been done.
Thank you, Galen. We like to think in metaphors, and this visual really, we all hopefully can find some connection to, just like Galen said, to the growth of a tree from a seed to a full mature tree. And this is another way to look at that ladder or continuum, and knowing that it's not linear, and someone expressed that very clearly earlier. It's not a linear process. There's times in our lives where we're in different stages. So we're going to take you through this together, and we're going to add some personal experience and story to it so you can understand what it looks like in partnership and from our own experiences. And then we're going to do some breakout. So, Arabe, I think this is you talking about the sun.
Absolutely. I'd like to introduce the sun, which in this case, our sun is youth voice and agency. So these are really the rays that provide the possibilities to progressively build and deepen youth-adult relationships and partnership over time, if the conditions are right. But I'd also want to add, as we move along this continuum and take you through this, I'd like to, say that there's absolutely, no judgment in if you find yourself or your organization, such as a ladder, in the seed or the earlier stages. I just wanted to add that part because in order for youth to reach out and seek opportunities to partner with adults, we first individually as youth need to have that aha moment that we have this this power in our experience. So absolutely no judgment if you are at that beginning role where youth are beginning to realize their power. And now I'm going to pass it to Lindsay.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm going to tell you about the soil. So Arabe and I are kind of setting the conditions so that we can walk through this model with you. And the soil provides, as we know for a seed, provides so many essential nutrients, just like the sun, to nourish movement towards partnership. So again, we really want to make sure that the conditions, the ethos, are right, that we have sunshine, we have nutrients in our soil in order to really nourish this seed. So now we're gonna dig into each of these parts. And just so you know, this diagram, which is hard to probably see on your screen, is in the resource folder that Connor, thank you Connor for helping to facilitate, shared. So we put all of our materials in there as well.
Yeah, so the first step on this continuum is youth as recipients, so the seed. At this stage, the youth aren't, they don't have a voice yet. Everything's being done to them. The nutrients haven't quite gotten there yet. They're getting there, but it hasn't been, fully used. There's tons of potential, unlimited potential here. Everything's starting at a very small scale, but you can see the potential that it has to grow into this mature tree.
Yes. And the next stage on our continuum is our sprout, which is youth as consultants. And in this level, adults actively seek and consider the opinions of youth in learning and decision-making. Adults, build this framework so that students are listened to. In our metaphor, this means that the seed has, been provided with some nutrients to sprout and grow and develop. And like I was talking about before, youth, really begin to understand their role and how valuable their input and experience is, and how to offer it to adults in the education system. And adults as well, inversely, begin to understand the importance of integrating youth voice and youth perspective into decisions and really general happenings in the school environment.
Yeah, and I think what this can often look like, as it was shared earlier, this in our first session, was like, this is adults wanting to know maybe a student survey or a focus group, or asking for youth to look at a curriculum or think about a policy, but it's really adults are organizing the space, and it's very adult driven, and can be very meaningful and impactful. So then we enter into our emerging partnership, and this is our sapling. And This is where youth actively participate in decision-making. And the space is really still designed and guided by adults. So there's still that nurturing that really needs to happen, because the sapling is still, you know, in an immature stage, in the sense that if a big storm comes, or if an animal comes or something, it can easily, you know, be kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say destroyed, but it's still sensitive. And so the adults are still, the power in many ways still is held in the adults, in as far as the design process. The length of the sapling stage depends on the tree species, but saplings have defining characteristics. For instance, they have flexible trunks. So this tells us that in the sapling stage, the mental models, the way in which we think about power and decision making, is beginning to shift. So youth and adults, their mental models, it's beginning to shift over time, that paradigm shift. The sapling grows stronger when it's subjected to the elements, but it also appreciates the protection and support during this period. Like I said, it might not be able to take on a tornado, but if it has the protection and support, it's only going to grow stronger. And it's creating a new and deeper root system, which creates evolving stability and strength. It has smoother bark than mature trees. So the decision-making process is usually smoother, because people are being a little more like, they're maybe not bringing their full truth to the process, and there might be the space to be fully vulnerable and ask hard questions and push and dismantle ideas and systems. Might not be the environment that it's ready for. So decision-making is usually guided by adults, but it might lack the richness of a rougher and more negotiated process that can feel a little rougher, bumpier, but get at really making systems change. And it's not quite ready to produce fruit or flowers. So it's not fully an equitable process yet.
So as we mature to the full, grown-up tree, we recognize the tree's adulthood once it can produce fruits. So once we see that there are tangible outcomes coming from the partnership, not that aren't things being done at earlier stages, but at this point we can see there are long-term effects that have happened. So at this point, learning and leadership are founded on equitable, respectful, and they are characterized by shared power, shared voice, and shared responsibility. So at this point, everything is just about equal. Everybody has an equal voice. The power dynamic that was present earlier isn't as dominant as it is now.
And we really,
Yeah,
go ahead, everybody. Sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say that I really enjoyed that last comment on this shifting power dynamic. I think that some of my most meaningful experiences in education have come from seeing myself on level ground and and eliminating that teacher to student traditional relationship, traditional vibe, for sure.
Great. And the fruit is really what we see as the fruit of this mature tree is really youth that are activists and leaders in their community. And you'll see that although the name of this summit is Student Voice, we really we use youth because in our world we think like a student to me can be, I'm a student but I'm also an adult. So we use youth a lot, but you can certainly fill in that with student. But really what we are striving for is a full mature tree where youth, the fruit of that tree is youth activists and leaders. And that's like the work that I am grateful to do with Galen and Arabe and Anna, who's part of this group right now, as members of our Youth Advisory Council and our board, is that we really are in full partnership. we hope that you can think about your own school or organization generally on this continuum right now. And I'll go back to this, just thinking in general terms. We're going to go into breakout groups for a very short time because we have such a small amount of time here, but it'll probably be about 8 minutes or so. And in your breakout groups, we hope that you can take the opportunity to introduce yourselves. We'll be in groups of like 4 or 5. Take a moment to think about your school, your organization as a whole. Where might you be in general terms on this continuum? And what are some examples? Everybody, you want to do the rest of those?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd like to further ask what it was like to think about your school/organization in this way. I remember the first time when I was introduced to this continuum. It was definitely a different way of thinking for me, and really grounded me to where I was, and made me reflect. And also, please share in your breakout room, which we're going to go to very shortly, what work you might have done or could you do in the future to advance ETHOS partnership in your school/organization.
Sorry that it went from full screen. I was trying to do breakout groups at the same time.
No worries at all. Yeah, no.
Any questions from folks? We hope that you can really just dive into this metaphor a little more deeply in a reflective way about your school or where you're at in your own life, personally, professionally, and share with some others to think about those examples as Arabe just said. And then we want to think about action moving forward. How can we advance this work? I will put these instructions in the chat, and you'll be able to access them during your breakout session. And we will also give you a minute warning when it's time to come back to our whole group. Sound good, everyone? So we're going to go to breakout, so you'll see yourself zooming out, and we'll zoom you back in when it's time. Everybody, you don't have to join one. I think it might push you out though.
Okay.
Come back to the, yeah, because I put
I think we're good. Oh,
and maybe Galen can come back too. Let me put the directions in the chat. Oh my gosh, it is so hot here.
Oh my goodness, me too. Yeah, I with the
dying
radio
right
playing
now.
For the chickens, and so I have my window closed.
Oh my gosh.
For background noise, it's like.
Yes, I'm sweating, and I'm sorry that I took your part there. I'm so sorry. I just was noticing the time, and I got
no worries at all. Yeah, no, it's quite soon, or not. I don't know soon, but.
Let's see. I'm gonna put this in the chat, and hopefully this goes to everyone. And Galen's in a breakout room, but that's okay. You can chit chat. And Amy, I'm gonna put you in a breakout room here.
Sorry.
I don't know if I can. And I'll broadcast those directions too. It's a little bit hard to do the do the screen. I didn't realize that that it would be hard to screen share, breakout, all those things.
Yeah, I have not had experience with using breakout rooms, but
it's a lot of it's just a lot of
sure.
I'm like, ooh, I stopped sharing my screen.
I'm sure. Yeah. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, it is so hot. I cannot wait to go stick my head in the freezer.
Yeah, no, me too. I went for a lengthy dip yesterday.
Good.
Swimming hole,
yeah.
Very, very nice.
I know. I think maybe this afternoon we can. We did on on Sunday, we went to our favorite spot in the river, and it was like, it's a really cold spot.
Oh, really? Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was really good. It's like a really cold spot. You have to have like a perfectly really hot day in order to truly enjoy it. And I'm realizing that this session is recorded.
Oh, goodness.
I'll edit it out.
Oh, goodness.
I can pause. Coming back here. Welcome back, everyone. We know that was not enough time at all, and we literally have a minute until we get to go back to the main room. But we're hoping that it at least sparked some conversation and some thinking for you and reflection. We were hoping that maybe in the chat, since we have to go back, we're going to be going back to the main session in like 30 seconds or so before we close, if you could share a word in the chat, if you feel willing to, that you'll take with you from this really brief session, that you'll apply to your work in partnership with either youth or adults, depending on who you are. So I see hopeful, great. Commitment, encourage, power, growth. We hope that all these resources are in the folder that Connor shared, and you can access them. And you can also, our emails, Arabe and Galen and my email are on the slides that are in the folder. So feel free to reach out if you want to talk further about this idea of partnership. And we'll see you all back in the main session. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.